new Ludwig Boltzmann Institutes, which just opened, and hope to answer also a number of questions you might have. Just to start with the usual things, please turn off your microphone, but turn it on when you want to speak. I think you can speak later. The session will be recorded and is then available later with all the slides. And yeah, if you have questions that we cannot answer today, we will also create in addition a frequently asked question sheet that should answer also a lot of questions later on. Okay, so for those of you who have not had the opportunity to meet the Ludwig Boltzmann Society, it's a research organization, so it's an organization with institutes dealing with research, and the focus of most of the institutes is somewhat on medicine and life sciences, with some exceptions. Currently, there are 17 Ludwig Boltzmann institutes already ongoing. Some of them will expire, some are long-term, some have more money than others. So it's a bit of a mixture, and they're all a bit different from the ones that come now. Now, the focus generally is on interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research, and always addressing timely and important topics. And of course, to achieve solutions to mainly societal issues in the broader term. Now, these new institutes, it's planned to found 2 new institutes. So we are calling for 2 good successful applications. And this time there is a research field, and this is termed health sciences. And that's a very broad term. We understand this, and I will get into more detail later what we understand under health sciences. And there's a second principle, a second limitation or request for a new Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. And this is based on the Howard Hughes Medical Institute idea, which is people, not projects. And what this means, I will also explain in a few seconds, but it means that the people or the person that is going to lead or apply for this Ludwig Boltzmann Institute has to be an outstanding scientist already. Now, for those successful, there will be financial support and so on. It's about 1.5 million euro per year, and we will get back to this also later. And each Ludwig Boltzmann Institute is basically hosted at a university. So there's always a host institution, which is a university, but the main administration will be at the Ludwig Boltzmann Society. So it's a bit 2 legs of this institute, but it's important to have a host institution, and that's where the institute will be physically located. And so each application has to be done together with the university. Now, to understand what we mean under health sciences, we know it's a very wide term, and not so easy to narrow it down like saying genetic disease. So it's basically all disciplines that deal with health very widely. And this includes many aspects, and more from some more traditional areas like biomedical ideas, but also healthcare systems research, or practical applications of research findings. So anything that has to do with human health that is impacted by environment, psychology, sociology, whatever healthcare system is included in this big term of health sciences. So what we ask for is really we call for people who work on this broader field of health sciences that can also, of course, involve classical areas in biomedicine or pharmacology or whatever. But there should be also some wider angle that impacts society and or prevention, rehabilitation. So you need to find a way to find different disciplines that come together that form basically a big question in the health science field. Now, to impact society is an important aspect of this Ludwig Boltzmann Institutes, of the new ones. So the idea is really to solve societal problems. So it's hard to explain a little bit, but it's if you work on one mutation all your life that affects a disease that has 2 people on the planet that have it, it's interesting. But this would not be a social, bigger impact topic, let's say, that would be less suitable. But if you work on like a whole area of diseases that is important, that has many implications, like also psychological or some patient advocacy groups or so, then if this together would then again make an impact on society or in a group of society and would fit to the topic of health sciences. What is also important is that we are really calling for excellent science, so it should go beyond the common state of the art, and that is also required from the institute director, so the person who will apply for the institute together with the host institution is expected to be outstanding in its discipline. So if there is, of course, the ranking of excellence is in some fields easier for me at least to understand. In other fields there are other metrics than let's say just publications or so, but it has to be a person that did already made already good achievements over the last years and is kind of more than let's say an average scientist, but more of a person that conducted really excellent science. So that is the people, not projects idea, and there is some quotes from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. So it should be the researchers should bring innovative approaches to the study of health sciences. It can be also cross-disciplinary. It can be out of the box. We are really looking also for new and good ideas that serve the society in health science aspects. Now, the structure of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institutes is depicted on this slide. So as you can see, there are different institutions that participate. I already mentioned there has to be one main institution, which is the host institution, that is a university. And the institute director is also a central person that leads the whole endeavor and orchestrates it in a way. And the Ludwig Boltzmann Institutes always have also partner organizations, and the number of partner organizations is open, but one is mandatory. So there has to be at least one partner organization that is also of a different discipline. It cannot be another university. It has to be something more applied that can then translate the findings into something that has an impact on society or on patient groups or whatever. And then, so this institute director is the central boss, if you wish to say. And then there are different research lines. So there are research programs. It's not just one topic that is followed by the institute director, but it's usually about 3 research programs that are part of such a Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. And one of these research programs is led by the institute director, and the other one is led by a group leader, another group leader that also will be part of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. And the third research program is led by a third program leader, for instance. So the number of programs is not totally defined, but 3 is a good number, let's say, to combine different disciplines, and each of these programs should have complementary aspects they're looking at. So the people that are then part of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute, I will go through them now one by one. So the institute director is the first one and very essential, and the research group leaders. And I will go first through the things. So the institute director is the boss, and he or she manages everything and leads one program line that I said already. And but this institute director has to be an excellent scientist and should be able to attract other excellent scientists to form the whole consortium that is eventually then building this Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. The institute director is responsible, together with the host institution, to submit the proposal. So the university, they have to be in contact to form this proposal. And the institute director then, once this institute is running, has a double affiliation. So it is at one point, at 75% are dedicated to the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute work, and 25% are dedicated to the work at the university. And the salary is split accordingly. So if you make the budget for the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute, you have to remember that you have to calculate 75% of the salary for the institute director. There are some circumstances where this is slightly different, but the salary of 75% for the institute director is always part of the budget of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. Now, these institute directors can be already people working at a university, but it's also possible to get new people in. So if you, for instance, have a great idea and an important topic, but you are not eligible to whatever reason to become the institute director, but you would like to expand the fields that you are interested in, and you know of some external potential candidate that would be a perfect institute director, you can also get a new institute director in, and you have to negotiate this with the university that these new people are going to be hired at the university to apply for a Ludwig Boltzmann Institute, or put this together. If the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute is successful, they will be hired at the university. So this is also, and you also have the opportunity to bring in new brain from outside with a Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. And here I come to the application criteria. So the institute director has or will have, so you can also get basically a fresh meat in, a tenure or tenure track position at the host institution that is in agreement with the universities. Then the age, basically academic age of the institute director, is to be a minimum of 4 years after a PhD and a maximum of 15 years of professional experience since completion of a PhD. So there's a certain time range, middle age, I would say. And of course, the usual things, this time range can change based on parental leave or also clinical training. So if you're a clinician, that also you can deduct clinical training years from this, but it should be a maximum plus minus 15 years after PhD. The principal investigator also must have had at least one competitive grant with a duration of of at least 3 years. So, for instance, an FWF grant, something that has really impact, has to be led as a PI by the applicant. They have to demonstrate scientific independence, usually shown by publications without their PhD supervisor. The person has to have some sort of leadership experience and potential by, for instance, having built up his or her own group. And this person should really have an impressive level of success in the respective research field and according to their career stage. So we write here minimum of 5 significant research outputs as first or last author. We understand that this can change in certain disciplines, but I think 5 research outputs of some kind is not too much to ask of a person after 15 years of a PhD. And also the institute director has to promise basically to remain employed at the host institution for the entire lifespan of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute, which is, I will come back to this, 7 ± 3 years. Now, one level down, basically, from the institute director are the research group leaders that lead one of the program lines. As I said, typically there are 2, but can be also probably 1 to 4, depending on what makes sense in the whole consortium. And they should also be, of course, equipped and experienced enough to run such a specific program line, should have experience in supervising younger scientists, and the usual tools you need to run a research program, but not as experienced as the director, but still not fresh of school, of course, have some experience in the field. There can be also some more junior researchers where this would be really a promotion of their career and something where they're closely supervised by the institute director, and so it can be quite a important chance for, let's say, younger researchers, but it can also be a more established researcher who wants to basically is interested or a good fit for this program and wants to contribute to the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. These research program leaders or research group leaders, ideally you know them when you apply, but worst case they can also be identified or narrowed down after the LBI starts. And the research group leaders are typically employed by the Ludwig Boltzmann Society. And then there's one more thing. This is adjunct principal investigators. This is not a must, but an option. You can have one or two additional adjunct PIs that are not part of the, well, they're not employed by the Ludwig Boltzmann Society, but they can contribute to the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute and, for instance, get a little financial package because they are a perfect fit for for one specific program line where you need some, for instance, clinical expertise, and then you can involve, for instance, a clinician who would bring in additional synergistic experiences and can basically help the whole program better, but is not required to be there constantly and from the beginning to the end. But this is also important because you can also find new collaborations and so on, and even offer these people a small financial package. So that is also attractive in the win-win situation for both sides. Now, the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute, as I said, is an institute that is anatomically located at a university usually, and that is the host institution. But I said already that the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute is not just one piece at one host institution, but they're always partner organizations, and they can be of different types. They can be of academic, research applying partner organizations, industry. They can be also NGOs, non-profit health insurance companies, whatever. And all this together then builds this consortium that is ultimately then called the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. So each Ludwig Boltzmann Institute, I repeat this on purpose again, has one host institution, the university, and at least one research applying partner organization. Now, the host institution itself, it is the case that all public and private universities in Austria are eligible to serve as a host institution. They, together with the director, apply for the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. They employ or will employ, if somebody is coming from outside their director, as I said, they pay 25% of his or her salary. It houses the new Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. And the universities provide access to all the infrastructure, libraries and Mensa and equipment, lab and so on. And they will be compensated for this with a flat rate of 40% of all personal costs of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute staff will go as a compensation to the host institution as overheads, basically, so they can provide all the infrastructure. That is, of course, also expensive. In generally, it is so that the staff, so the employees at the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute are actually really employed at the Ludwig Boltzmann Society. As I said, the director 75%, but all research program leaders and technicians and so on, all postdocs are employed via the Ludwig Boltzmann Society. But however, sometimes it can be that people like PhD students, they have to be employed at the university because it has to do with university regulations and so on. And also some people working in the clinics, they have to be employed by the university or the university hospital in order to have access to patients and so on. So these people will be really employed at the university, but are still part of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. And the budget of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute will pay for their salary, but legally they are employed at the university. That sounds complicated, but it's in fact much easier than having it the other way around. So students and clinical staff are at the university, but are compensated for, and everybody else is employed at the Ludwig Boltzmann Society, which is the umbrella organization of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. So the host institution provides infrastructure, but it goes without saying that special or specific research infrastructure that is typically in core facilities, the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute has to pay at the as well, but the internal costs apply, so it's not as expensive as an external consumer of these core facilities. The host institution has some right in intellectual property, securing intellectual property rights. So they stay rather with the university. So there's a whole paragraph on it in the application sheet. You can pay it, read it. The partner organizations, sometimes these are companies, they can also have intellectual property rights, so this has to be negotiated, but there's, of course, they have the first right definitely to get intellectual property. And the host institutions of the university will be part of the name of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. So in the future, it will be called Ludwig Boltzmann Institute for, I don't know, eating disorders at the Medical University of Graz, for instance. So both Ludwig Boltzmann Institute and the university is part of the name. And then within the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute, the scientists they get funding from the Ludwig Boltzmann Society, of course, but they are also, as a natural course of science, encouraged and will apply for additional grants. So this is, of course, possible at FWF or ERC, whatever. You can always apply for additional grants being part of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. And these grants are then, except for some strategically important ones, are managed by the Ludwig Boltzmann institution, and I think as far as I know, only ERC grants are managed then by the universities. Now the partner organizations, as I said, this sky is the limit. You can, whatever fits your purpose or your idea can be a partner organization, but the partner organization contributes to the finances of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. They pay 20% of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute's budget in cash. So this can be split between different partners, but this 20% are not negotiable. They have to come from partner organizations. So you can also work with patient groups, of course, but they will rarely bring up 20% of the budget. But they can, as long as you have enough partners who pay 20% of the budget, you can have, of course, additional partners that are important for the project. Now, the partner organizations do not have to be in Austria. They can also be abroad. So also international partners can be part of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. And their advantage is, of course, they will benefit from the research results and topic. They can contribute to the research plan. So, of course, that is also a huge asset. They also bring in know-how. And also they basically, there's a pool of scientists that are educated in this Ludwig Boltzmann Institute that might be interesting for this partner company, if they're companies, as future employees. As I said, they have some right to get IP rights, and they also have voting rights. So partners have a lot of right in these board meetings. These are annual meetings of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute with the partners, where they have a voting right, so they have really a say in the development and also in the future of this Ludwig Boltzmann Institutes and also the research strategy. In addition, you can have network partners. That is more loosely associated, basically. They do not have to provide any finances for the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute, but these are typically, what I said before, patient organizations or NGOs or help groups or something that are probably very important for the overall goal and also the societal impact of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute, but they are not financially obligated to contribute anything, and they also don't have voting rights at these annual meetings, of course. But it might be quite important to have these network partners. And then, okay, what is this? Okay, so to sum it up in a way, that is this consortium requirement for Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. So Ludwig Boltzmann Institute is really a consortium, and I just say it again, that there's one host institution and at least one research applying partner organization, and there are some exceptions to this, of course, where research applying partner organizations have not been defined at the time of application, but there have been conversations, but it's not signed and sealed yet. So then these partner organizations with a letter of intent, of course, and some sort of commitment, they can also join the consortium within the first year, but they have to sign within the first year after the establishment. Otherwise, the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute cannot run. But it has not, what we want to say is they don't have to be there on day one, but you can still basically improve something with them or negotiate with them. But after the first year, the deal has to be sealed. Otherwise, the whole Ludwig Boltzmann Institute cannot work. Okay, So you need a prospective letter of intent to apply with this. Now, of course, research culture, LBG encourages open, inclusive, and so on, mentorship, professional development. So these are also important aspects that need to be part of the application, that there is all these social skills that you need as a scientist nowadays. There's a special interest, or also it's positively seen if there is inter and transdisciplinary research, open science, diversity, and the usual things, but also open innovation in science, citizen science, and outreach. And I think we have also 2 slides on open science. So open science is also one of the strongholds of the Ludwig Boltzmann Society. And Christiane will, from Open Science Lab or Open Science, I don't know what the name is, Open Science Center.
Open Innovation Science Center, yeah.
Open Innovation Center will now explain to you quickly some aspects of this open science approach.
Yes, thanks, Silvia. Yes, so I'm very happy to talk now a couple of minutes about open innovation in science, which is one aspect of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institutes. As you know, or might have heard already, the Open Innovation Science Center, which is established at the Ludwig Boltzmann Society, supports researchers in planning, implementing, and evaluating open and collaborative research projects, in which not only researchers work, but also those that are affected by research, like patients, for instance, or their relatives, or any other interest group, they are actively involved in these projects. And to that end, we provide consultations, but also funding, and additionally also any kind of resources and training materials. So what is open innovation in science? It's basically a process that enables, initiates, and manages knowledge flows and collaboration across organizational and scientific disciplinary boundaries in science. So what that actually means is that researchers across disciplines are working together, not only with each other, but more importantly, they work together with those non-researchers who have relevant experience. So for instance, patients or stakeholder groups. And could you click on the next slide, please? Thanks. So open innovation science, basically the idea of it can be implemented along the whole research cycle. It means that, for instance, researchers can, together with, let's say, patients, set the research agenda in so-called priority setting projects. They can jointly write grant proposals. Patients can be part in the governance structures of projects and have an advisory role. They can work together with researchers to design a study, to collect data, to analyze data, and also to disseminate the results. So what open innovation science does not mean is that patients, for instance, just participate in a study in a very traditional sense, so that they are filling in a survey or that they are taking part in a focus group or just give blood. Open innovation science means much, much more. It means that those with relevant experience, like patients or their relatives, have a real say in research and basically co-design research. So could you click forward, please? To sum it up, it just means that research is carried out with and by the members of the public, and it's not just about them or for them. And it also means that those who have relevant experience contribute to how research is designed, conducted, and disseminated. And maybe to get a better understanding of how open innovation science works, could you just click one? Yeah, thanks. I would like to refer you to some of our supported and funded open innovation and science projects that some Ludwig Boltzmann Institutes have been doing in the past. So for instance, the project PATIO, which is done by the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute for Applied Diagnostics in Vienna. They are working together with prostate cancer patients and their relatives, and they are together identifying novel unanswered research questions in the field of prostate cancer cancer, and together they are also creating an information and support platform. Then we also have the project HERO, which is a project by the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute of Digital Health and Prevention in Salzburg, in which researchers and patients after an acute cardiac event are developing together a digital prototype to support information needs for patients. And lastly, for instance, we have Science for All, which is a project by the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute for Lung Vascular Research in Graz, in which lung fibrosis patients investigate together with researchers the molecular structure of the disease. So that's just a very brief glimpse into open innovation.
And may I just ask, so if somebody is interested, they can contact you and
yes.
And you help basically.
Yeah, I'm very happy to answer any questions then.
Okay, super. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, then now to the most important part, financing. So, Ludwig Boltzmann Institute has a quite substantial budget, I would say. It's up to 1.5 million euros per year. So that is quite a lot. As I said before, 20% come from partners, so 80% of this sum comes from the Ludwig Boltzmann Society, and 20% have to come in cash from partner organizations. Yeah, in-kind contributions can be provided, but they are not a component of the LBIS budget, and they cannot fund the 20% co-financing requirements. So it really has to be in cash. Now, a Ludwig Boltzmann Institute has a planned lifespan of 7 years, and I write here 4+3 because after 4 years there will be an evaluation, and then after 7 years there will be, if this is again positively evaluated, there is the option for 3 more years, so a total of up to 10 years funding with 1.5 million per year, so 15 million euro maximum. How does this selection take place? So after you apply your proposal, there's an international expert jury that will be formed, and will be about, not sure yet, 7-8 people that form this expert jury. And they will go through the applications and make a pre-selection, a first selection step. And then pre-selected applications, so some might not be continued, will be forwarded to review. And so international, again, outside peer review will take place of these applications. And then they come back, the reviews, and the jury then again selects a handful of applications that will be then invited for a hearing in front of these international experts. And those then decide on 2 Ludwig Boltzmann institutes that will be funded. The selection criteria, they are nicely written in the application documents, but to sum them up here. So 50% importance is indeed the qualification and the potential of the institute director. So again, people, not projects. It's really important that this is a person with some sort of standing and potential, and people believe in his or her excellence, and the research team as a construction that the director developed. 30% is quality and feasibility of the research plan. So if the methods are excellent, innovative structures, and also if open science, innovation, and so on has been part of this research proposal, that is 30%. And 20% is then the quality of the research environment. So if the host institution and also the partners provide substantial, also if the facilities and the setting is equipped to carry out the proposed research. Of course, we are following this agreement of reforming research assessments as has been ongoing over the last years. So quality is one important aspect that will be considered. So the originality of the ideas, stuff that goes beyond state of the art. It has to be more, not more of the same, but really something innovative and novel. Again, open science is always very much more and more important in these types of research projects. And of course, the impact of scientific, technological, economic, and societal nature. And then last but not least, of course, talking about health sciences, of course, diversity, inclusion, and collaboration are very important aspects that should also be addressed and should be visible within the proposal. Now, the application documents, some of them, I don't know exactly, are already online, but not complete. This sharing can say them later. So that different check forms, a proposal form, a financial form, and for the CVs, also templates. Then you need a number of letters of institutional commitments, declarations, and also if you want, you can exclude certain reviewers if there is a conflict you want to disclose. The dates, the call started 2 weeks ago. We have another webinar at the end of March to answer additional questions that might arise at once you look at all the documents and start forming your ideas. The deadline is May 2nd, and we are planning to have the on-site interviews, so the final decision in September 2023. So this goes pretty fast, and over summer the selection and review should take place. Now, Shirin Alias is with us here. She knows it all, and she's the main contact for this Ludwig Boltzmann Institutes. You can reach her per phone, email, and you can find all the information on the homepage, or soon all information on the homepage. These are the people who are here today, and I think that's the last slide. Yes. And I hope we were able to kind of outline the idea of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute. I'm sure there are a number of questions arising now or at the next webinar also possible. And I think I will give over now to Shirin.